Welcome to Becoming Virtuosa, the podcast with Dr. Susan Crockett. You are listening to episode number 15, Doctors and Life Coaches, WTF. Interview with fellow physician and certified life coach, Dr. Noelle Nelson. This episode is dedicated to Noelle's mom, who passed away from breast cancer a few years ago and was Noelle's biggest supporter.
Welcome to Becoming Virtuosa, where women learn to love their lives. Do you find yourself frustrated by society's expectations? Looking for practical advice on how to discover your talents and level up your life? You found the right place. Here's your host, U.S. News top doctor, robotic surgeon, and certified life coach, Dr. Susan Crockett.
Hello, my virtuosas. Hello, my virtuosas in training, my VITs. I'm your host, Dr. Susan Crockett. As always, you can call me Sue because I am not acting as your doctor here. You may be my patient, but not on the show. On the show, I am Sue, and we are doing an actual conversation. It's not just pretending that we're having girl chat. We are actually starting a really exciting series today. I am starting a series of interviews. So the format is going to be similar to what it's been in the past. I'll always do a dedication. We will always have the what we're listening to and reading and watching thing at the end of it. But instead of listening to me teach and lecture, we're going to be doing girl chat with some of my closest friends. And we have an amazing lineup of podcasts for you guys. I'm so excited to start this. So it is a beautiful day in Texas today. It has been the perfect sunshiny day. The birds have sung all day long. My gardenias are blooming. Y'all, when my gardenias bloom, it is heaven. Gardenias and jasmine, just heaven. So a couple months ago, before I started all this podcast stuff, my husband, he was going to a yard sale or an estate sale, and he found this beautiful old metal archway that goes over like a garden sidewalk entrance, beautiful wrought iron archway. And he bought it for me and brought it home, and it is in my garden now. And the roses and the jasmine are starting to climb on it. He planted roses at the base of it, climbing roses. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful and so just, it's joy and calming. So that's what I've been up to. All right, I'm super excited today. I am starting off a new series, and I've got the most amazing guest on my show today. The next couple of months, I'll be interviewing all of the certified life coaches that work with me within virtuosacoaching.com. And to kick off this series, I have a very special guest. This is Dr. Noelle Nelson. Dr. Nelson is a board-certified internal medicine internist. She works in private practice, but is also on faculty at the University of Minnesota. She's been in practice for about 20 years, and she teaches residents and medical students. And I met Noelle because she and I are two of about almost 75 physicians now, I think, that have been certified as certified life coaches through the life coaching school. I want you all to give a nice warm welcome to Dr. Nelson. Hey, Dr. Nelson, how are you doing today?
Hi, Sue. Awesome. Really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Actually, you just reminded me about one of the rules of the podcast is we're not practicing medicine here. We're having girl talk. And so I always tell my listeners they can call me Sue. Is it okay if we call you Noelle during the podcast?
Always, yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'm always really curious when I talk to other physicians. We all have our own story about how we ended up in life coaching. And this isn't something where you were just fresh out of residency and disillusioned. You and I had been in practice for over 20 years. Can you tell me a little bit about how you ended up with life coaching and what your journey was?
Yeah, similar to most of our clients, I was stuck. And the fashion of stuck varies. My flavor was my life looked really beautiful on the outside. So I have the best internal medicine position that I know of, amazing partners. I have an amazing family, a beautiful house. My life looks really good. And I felt really miserable. And I didn't know really why. I thought everybody was happier than I was. And that was sort of my steady state. And then I had a series of things that occurred in my life My house burned down. My
Whoa.
mom got breast cancer and passed away.
Oh my
I
goodness.
was involved in a lawsuit. My dad got paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, bad disease. My stepdad got leukemia. A whole series of things happened that I now know happened for me, but I no longer could cope well. I didn't think that I had depression,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't figure out how to get through my day with anything but feeling so much frustration and anger. And
You just felt bad all the time. And no wonder.
I felt bad all the time. And truly, I kind of felt bad most of the time going into that. So I found myself then, I would get to work and I would be thinking on my way, this actually was what I was thinking. What is happy? Have I actually ever even felt happy?
Yeah.
What does happy even feel like? Do I kind of have happy and I just don't know I do? And then I would go into one of the exam rooms and I would Google happy thoughts,
Yeah.
something to put in my head to start my day.
Wow.
And it just was happening more and more often. And I just didn't like the person I was seeing in the mirror.
So how did you run into life coaching?
Googling happy thoughts, how to feel better. And I had a partner who listened to a life coach for weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
So her reason, and she had been talking about it, and I actually ran by a shingle. One of the ways I would try to feel better was by running and running and running and running and working.
Yeah.
More running, more working.
A lot of us do that. We like do things to try to numb the pain or avoid the pain. Like we use that term buffering when we're talking about coaching. So for you, that buffering was running.
Totally. And I didn't recognize it as a problem because I recognized overeating, over drinking. Those were the problems I thought were buffering.
Yeah.
So anyway, my partner was listening to these life coach podcasts in an effort to lose weight. And I tried listening. It just didn't really resonate. But some of the messages
Mm-hmm.
were that the reason you're not getting the results in your life are because of the way you're thinking.
Whoa, say that again. Wait, say it again.
The reasons you're getting the results in your life are because of the way that you're thinking.
And that hit you when you heard that in the podcast. You were like, wait a minute, we weren't taught that in med school. Nobody taught me that, right?
It kind of hit me, but right after that came that your thinking is causing all of your feelings. Your thinking generates all of your emotions. And it just stopped me dead in my tracks.
Because that's definitely not something we're taught.
No, I was sure that my neighbor burning my house down, my mom dying of breast cancer, all these things, I didn't realize there was a space between what was going on outside of me
Yeah.
and how I was feeling. And the thing between there that I learned is that my thoughts were there. And I might want to think something that makes me feel sad, but maybe not all the time. And then the other thing I learned that I want is that you can choose to feel your emotion.
Yeah.
Or the things I was stuck in. So this is where I was stuck. I was reacting to them. So I was like getting angry and showing it rather than just feeling it. Or I was resisting it, like, go away, go away, go away. I don't want to be mad right now.
Right.
And so those were the big things I learned. The reason I was feeling so bad was because I was resisting my emotions and I was reacting to them. And then the only other mode I had was I was hiding from them. You know, I was running and
Yeah.
working. And
so this is definitely very different than what we're taught in medical school, either from traditional psychiatry or traditional counseling. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between traditional counseling and life coaching, specifically the type of life coaching that you and I were trained to do and why you decided to become certified?
yeah. So partly psychiatry and therapy focus a lot on disease and non-functioning, and also tend to have more of a past focus with how did you get here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I actually didn't even feel like I had the energy myself to think about how I got here. I wanted to look at how to get somewhere else. So what we do focuses a lot on, I almost think of it as a map or a GPS in your car, where you are now and where you are going.
Yep.
Where do you want to go? And not looking over your shoulder. It's what are you capable of? And deciding, it's a really identity shattering process. It's about choosing who you want to be on purpose.
Yep.
And then the role of the coach is sort of to help you see all these belief systems that are holding you back and keeping you stuck.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really struck me too is I always thought about coaching prior to this. I always thought of it as like people who are trying to tell other people what to do or how to do things. I didn't really appreciate it as we've been taught, which is, we are trained to help people see their thoughts and to teach them that they've got choices about those thoughts and how to live their life on purpose, right?
Totally.
So the other thing that was really different for me when I was going through all of this is like you, where the feelings and thoughts thing came in. Like I was introduced to the idea of being the watcher or being able to watch your thoughts in your brain, but I really hadn't like solidified in my own self that my thoughts were voluntary and that I could step outside of what my brain is doing and actually have some ability to control those thoughts that are just pouring through. In other words, I'm not my thoughts. I can watch my thoughts. I can choose my thoughts. And I think in my case, when it came to like feelings, and I think a lot of us who are female physicians in particular go through this, we go through this rigorous training with residency and everything, and we're taught, and we're almost taught not to feel. Like I remember telling people that I hadn't cried for years. Like I'm the person who doesn't cry.
Yes.
I don't do it. Did you have anything in your background that was like that? Does that sound similar?
That's totally. And it's really, in a way, it's a gift because it's what got me to this work. But yeah, I grew up in an environment where you didn't show sadness or frustration, or you just didn't show emotion. And what I know now is when you are hiding all of the negative emotions, you also don't really have the same capacity to develop your positive emotions, or I should say, if you're not feeling them,
right?
Because you don't have to display them. And then when I started having trouble managing my emotions, I found this nationally syndicated talk show host who taught that emotions were selfish.
Wow.
And she taught that like one of the biggest distinguishing features between high achievers and others is that they are not emotional beings. And this just all resonated with what I already thought. So I just became more and more convinced that I just had to use willpower and clench my fists and pretend they weren't there.
And so that was the background of how you processed emotions when you came to this point where all of these circumstances, all of these bad things were happening. And so no wonder you were like, oh, I don't know what to do with this except run.
And it wasn't processing. I think that your only option is almost to start blaming other things. And so like the gift of this work is realizing you're creating it all yourself. Like none of it is anybody else. It's my thinking, creating my feelings. And it is the most empowering thing because you can change it. And then I want to squish in this other pearl because it was one of the first things I learned, and it gave me relief immediately with nothing changing, was just that the normal human experience is that half the time we have negative emotions.
Right.
That's just normal. And it was such a weight lifted off me immediately when I learned that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to say it whenever I can. So I squished it in there.
That's a good one. That's definitely going on the Instagram.
And then it's really what you do with those negative emotions. Like, do you eat so that you don't feel them? Do you drink so you don't feel them? Do you spin in overwhelm and get stuck? It's what you do with the negative emotions more so. So many of us are worried about being happy more of the time. And a lot of what's holding us back is the screwy things we're doing with normal human negative emotions.
Yeah, I agree. So this is kind of where I saw this fitting into my practice. Can you talk a little bit about how life coaching fits into the practice of modern medicine, especially from two MD physicians, what that looks like for you?
Yes. I love that you're asking about this because we place so much value on physical health. And so whether I have a heart failure patient coming in or it's an annual physical, like we have such a routine down for good physical health. And we have such a routine down for even just going through, what is your workout? Is it aerobic? Is there resistance training, pliability? And then when it comes to the mental, emotional health part, it's really, you learn to almost frame it like, do you have any severe anxiety or depression going on?
Yeah, like, do I have to medicate you or not? Do I have to hospitalize you or not? It's at that level.
Yeah. And I send a fair amount of people to therapists and they help me out a ton, but it's a real minority. And most of my women aren't very happy, but they don't have depression or anxiety. So even just learning to ask what we call empowering questions or just getting them to see possibility. I feel like this is the biggest missing part of wellness in our practices.
Me too. In the practice of medicine in the US, that's kind of how I saw it. So most of my practice is surgery, but for the patients that aren't, needing surgery, I saw this huge number of people that are struggling with chronic medical illnesses because of things that have to do with their stress or their mind, how they're managing their lives. And it's not a blame kind of thing. It's just like a realization as I started going through the coaching for myself that I was like, oh, wow, this has the potential to really help a lot of people, because so much of what we see with overeating, which results in obesity and diabetes and cardiovascular disease, or over drinking, or just the lack of skills for being able to handle the stress in our lives, those things are all things that we can teach and learn by practicing this CTFAR model. That's the model that we learn in life coaching, which is how we teach each other and our clients to recognize their thoughts and to be able to start getting a handle on them.
Totally. So many of my patients, I mean, I would say 95% of my patients are trying to lose weight, and they've all tried it so many times in so many ways. And in my opinion, the truth is all those ways can work.
Yeah.
And the thing that's missing is what's in between where you are now and where you are going. It is what you're telling yourself. Your life is what you habitually tell yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not that complicated to get to your goal weight.
It seems like it is, but
right, because it's what we're telling ourselves, and we think we need the way we beat ourselves up. So if our thoughts create our feelings, create our actions, this thought, feeling, action cycle is just so neglected.
Yeah.
I mean, really, why is it that I probably seriously have one patient a year that makes more than 10 pounds progress towards their weight goal? And I have, 12 to 1,500 patients. What are we doing wrong?
Right? We're failing in modern medicine.
Like the bookshelves are full of how to lose weight, and it's not the action piece. We're missing the thought and the feeling driving the action.
Totally agree. Totally agree with you. Right on.
Yeah. So it sounds goofy until you sort of get in a session and sit down. But what we teach is a daily practice that our clients can then do on their own. But finding sort of these limiting beliefs, it's just a little bit of work, not a lot of work, but it really yields amazing results. And the results are more like just being more of who you are.
Right? Stepping into yourself and practicing with intention, becoming your virtuoso self. What do you want to be? What do you want to become?
Totally.
All right. So this has been an amazing interview. If you had like one nugget of advice to wrap it up, what would you have to say for our listeners?
Yeah. My favorite thing that I talk about with my clients is that you're good at what you practice.
Oh, that's
so
so
we
good.
have to
Wait,
figure
say
out,
that again. No, that needs another one. Say it again.
You're good at what you practice. But I think the unique thing is stepping back and looking at what you're really good at. Like, are you really good at overeating? You're practicing overeating. I was really good at feeling miserable. I was thinking thoughts that made myself miserable.
Wow.
So we want to choose the virtuosa thing that you want to be really good at on purpose. I was accidentally an expert at feeling miserable.
And you don't have to now.
No, I mean, half the time I have flavors of feeling yuck, but nothing like that, right? It's still 50-50, but it's not despair. It's low-grade annoyance, or, I'm really good at a different emotional balance.
That's amazing. Well, Noelle, thank you so much for taking your time to talk with us today. I'm so pleased with this conversation. I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of this, and I just wanted to let them know where they can find you if they want coaching from you.
Yeah, I have a referral-based practice. It's the practice of feeling better. I am in full-time medical practice, so I take very few clients, and I work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take an occasional private coaching client.
Those are from people that you know in your practice. So if people from listening to this podcast want to find you, probably the best way is the virtuosocoaching.com.
Yep. And I actually don't coach clients formally in my medical practice. I keep them pretty separate.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of the things about being both, right? We want to make sure that there's a distinction there.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a doctor, but not your doctor when I'm coaching.
Exactly. Well, Noelle,
thank you for your work.
Thank you. This is amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. See you later. All right, you guys, wasn't that absolutely amazing? She's such an inspiration. I had such a good time interviewing her. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I hope if you had questions about like, why would a doctor do life coaching, that this kind of clarifies it. It's really something that's been such an integral part of both our lives. So Noelle said I could still choose this week what I'm listening to and what I'm reading and what I'm watching. So I did kind of fun this week. So what I'm listening to is Robert Palmer's Bad Case of Loving You. Doctor, doctor, you know that one? So much fun. And what I'm watching is Doctor Who. Awesome. And what I've been reading is nothing. I have not been reading a single book this week because I have been working so hard to learn some new technical stuff. Y'all, I'm learning Kartra and how to do some coding online and how to do some video editing stuff and just all the stuff. So I've been doing a bunch of that this week, and I actually haven't picked up a book this week. So no doctor book for you. Go enjoy your day and enjoy your week. Next week, y'all are going to want to listen in because we are going to be talking with Jennifer Hillman Paredes about weight loss and how to stop overeating. That's right. All that weight that we've put on over the winter and that we're trying to get off now for springtime. She is going to tell you how life coaches handle the process of helping you lose weight. And it's going to be great, y'all. See you next week. Have a wonderful week. Love you all. I will see you next week in episode number 16.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Becoming Virtuosa. If you want to find out more, come check out virtuosacoaching.com. That's virtuosa with an A, coaching.com. See you next week.